Back again.
Back.
Nate Howard.
What's going on?
Artist, entrepreneur, nonprofit, movement B. What's fancy? A lot of stuff. Yeah, man. A lot of stuff. I always get like confused on how to introduce you. You do so many different things.
That's right.
But what would you say? What would you say?
Man, I would say I'm free.
Free. Yeah. That's the most
I'm
important.
a free black man.
Yeah, me too. That's a good way of thinking about it too. Freedom. Anyway, yes, Nate Howard, Movement B.
Mm-hmm.
Also, let's get into how you started out. How did this all start? Even starting from college. Even before, even a little bit before.
We want to hit that. No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in San Diego, Southeast San Diego, which is known as the inner city of San Diego. And, I always tell the story of, young African American male, typical stereotypes, which, I fit, right? That's what we did. I played basketball, rap, still do, right? But I'm not making money from it. It's a hobby, But I didn't really know any other talents. This is what I seen, Grew up Allen Iverson fan, wanted to be just like Allen Iverson. Only the strong survive, had my braids just like his, and
we actually grew up like damn near down the street from one another as well, and never knew it.
Never knew it until college, right?
Yeah.
But really, what really changed my life was in high school, I had to take a year of visual and performing arts to graduate. So I thought, let me do this electronic beat making class. I'm already rapping. Let me learn how to make beats. That class was full.
Right.
So I was like, well, what am I going to take? My mom's like, take theater. Theater? I was like, we don't do theater in the hood. What is theater? Shakespeare? Let's do theater? I play basketball. I'm not about to start acting. So ended up taking theater. I was like, oh, this is kind of dope. Had to do a monologue and realized I was a good speaker, right? And that was really the turning point in my life of becoming a public speaker, becoming, a poet and an artist, and realizing I can put words together and express it, right? This was 14, 15 years old. I had that kind of wake-up call of like, wow, I can share my message in a creative way. And so...
So it was expanding and doing something that you didn't even know you would like.
Of course.
See, this is the thing that I think is important too. Like a lot of the time, we as just black people in general, there's a lot of things that we don't even know that are out there that if we did them, we might even like them. We just don't even know what they are.
For sure.
And that it could be professional or non-professional, but there's things out there that we don't know of that we might even like.
No, for sure.
It can be life-changing too.
Yeah, for sure. Got out of my comfort zone, realized I liked that, and that was the first time I was like, well, what else do I like? Right? Because I got into theater.
Right.
Really was the situation where I was on JV basketball team and couldn't make it to practice because I had rehearsal.
Right.
And I really had to make a decision. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this, right? Basketball at a certain point it's my sophomore year. I was good. I mean, I actually won freshman MVP, but something was off, right? I didn't have the same love for it, and ended up quitting basketball my sophomore year to be in the ensemble of a musical. The only black guy. I played a bum. Right, like in this musical,
did you like that?
They did me like that. First, but I was happy that I was in this musical because it was just different. It was new, and I realized like it became like a passion because I was like, hey, this is something creative that I can get into. And from there, the theater coach was a speech and debate coach, and that's my love and that's my real passion, right? Theater introduced me to speech and debate.
Right.
and I've been a speaker ever since.
It's
You
crazy.
know, it's crazy that my life make money speaking, right?
From that one moment.
From that one moment of taking a theater class in high school, and never did I think that I could be make a living as a speaker, right? Which is a blessing. But I remember in high school, I was in speech and debate, and if you were in speech and debate, you know we were known as the speech and debate nerds. Right, we were the kids who talked to the fucking walls. You know, literally.
Right.
You know, your debate. You know, you can think of mock trial, like any of those kind of little circles or groups in schools. They were on the other side of the campus.
Right.
Okay, in their own little zone, and that was me. You know, so I had to leave the popular kids, the jocks. You know, the sports.
Right.
You know, to become what was you a square. And I was the speech and debate kid. So I was having identity issues, you know. Oh, Nate, you whitewashed. You know, you acting white, trying to be smart and hanging out with all of those AP honors kids now that you're in speech and debate. And
I used to say square bear.
yeah, square, you know, stuff like that. But somebody told me, you know, square is sharp in four corners, you know. So whatever it is, man, you know, I'm doing what I need to do, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it got me into USC, right? Was I gonna get a basketball scholarship to USC? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, so I felt like early on I had this wisdom, and a lot of my friends, you know, still played basketball, didn't have any other options, thought they were going D1, you know, all the way up in the senior year until they realized they didn't have any other backup plan, because as a student athlete, they wasn't focusing on the student part. Right.
Right.
So, you know, I got really into my academics, really started said I wanted to go to college, wanted to get focused, because what I was around, speech and debate, we were kind of all focused in that sense. And, you know, from speech and debate, since I got involved in there, I actually started the Invisible Children Club, you know, which was helping youth in Uganda, and I got on our school charter board, and I joined ASB. So, literally, you know, my senior year, I was voted most likely changed since freshman year. You know, I was literally different freshman year than I was senior year. My name was Nasty Nate freshman year. Like, I was just that guy who just wanted to be popular, cool, respected, playing basketball, all the girls. And, you know, senior year, it just became, you know, I was still me, but it was just, I wasn't the typical stereotype that I came in freshman year, right? And you know, long story short, man, I say that because I think that's really important. You know, a lot of kids just want to be cool during that time in high school and be around, but I felt like if I didn't make those sacrifices early on, there's no way I would be in the position that I am today.
Right.
Because I would have been still trying to please everybody, trying to be cool, trying to be a jock, and not really knowing, you know, where I'm at. Right. So, you know, getting to USC, here I am now. Shit, I made it in my eyes of just at least getting to college, you know, in the school that I wanted to go to. And got involved in the Center for Black Culture and Student Affairs, realized it's a predominantly white institution, wanted to connect with, you know...
And wealthy institution.
Yeah, very wealthy institution, as we know, right? And I had a great experience at USC. You know, enjoyed my time, really got connected.
And wealthy kids, those are some of the coolest kids I've met.
For sure.
Because they're happy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just being, like, 100%, like, a lot of these kids who had stuff, they were cool.
Yeah.
So that whole thing about, like, people who come from wealth are you know, unhappy or they're bad or mean or
we were taught that growing up, and it was, you know, it's not necessarily true.
No.
You know, my biggest issue was, you know, eating out with kids at times. Like, we eating out again? Because I got the meal plan. Y'all don't got the meal plan? Like, I'm on a budget here, so I don't know what y'all adventures y'all trying to do right now, but I don't have the budget for it. Okay.
So while you were there, you were on MTV.
It was MTV. I started there in a band, man. I was in a music band, you know.
Used to bring all the people.
Used to bring a lot of different music artists.
Like who?
I started interning for Def Jam actually my freshman year, and Def Jam connected with Warner Brothers and other labels. Like they all work together, and so, my boss at the time was like, "Hey, could you bring Gucci Mane to campus?"
Right.
At the time, I didn't even listen to Gucci Mane. You know what I'm saying? I really was like actually against Gucci Mane. I was like, I came from a space where like I wasn't listening to that type of music. You know, so I was like conflicted. Like, should I bring Gucci Mane to campus? You know. But a lot of things changed. Like I brought him to campus, and he gave out $5,000 that day. You know, he gave. We had a meet and greet. You know, they gave me an iPad to give out to the person who knew Gucci the best. So we had a little contest, and he just pulled out a stack out of his pocket to the girl who won and was like, "This is for your tuition and fees." Wow. He didn't have to do that. Right. You know, there was no press around that, you know. And then NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, who hosted the event with me, he gave them $4,000. Wow. You know. So I thought that was really cool, right? So that was like my first event, went well, and then started bringing other artists, right? Brought Waka Flocka, ended up bringing Nipsey Hussle. While J. Cole was on the come up in 2010, ended up hosting his concert and connecting with a meet and greet with him. Just doing stuff around the BET Awards because the Shrine Auditorium was right across the street. Yep. You know, I was just interviewing everybody. You know, Tiana Taylor. You know, my boy, you know, was Ice Cube's son, so it's like I was able to interview Ice Cube, like a lot of just different people. And so this was my thing, you know. And so I created a show called Be the Music. You know, I had the idea and the brand for B back in 2011, but it was in the music and entertainment industry. And so I would interview these artists and just asking them what inspires you, you know. And then BE turned into Brave Entrepreneur. And so I interviewed Ice Cube was saying like, tell me about you as an entrepreneur, right? So that people can see that you're more than just a rapper, you know, or actor. Like how could, and so that was my thing. And the goal was to keep building with that. Senior year, was able to shoot a pilot for my own show with MTV, right? I had collected all these interviews, sent it to MTVU, was hoping for a job after graduation. They said, let's start now. So shot a pilot for my own show, the Nate Howard Show. First guest was Ty Dolla $ign. You know, he had just had this song with YG called Tooted and Booted. Tooted and Booted, right? You know, so it was a hit, you know, and so that was going to be like my breakout interview, and we was going to keep building. And then a big incident changed all of that, right? So I was throwing a lot of the parties on campus because, you know, students of color, black students, you know, we didn't have our own house, you know. Mostly the white fraternities had the house where they can throw parties. And if you remember, as you know, you need to know somebody or walk in with a couple of girls, right? Or something. You wasn't getting into those parties, you know. So I was like, well, fuck it, you know, we'll throw our own parties. I had a house, you know, that I lived with my band at that time. So through the party, it was organized, it was registered, we had security, everything was put together. And, you know, we partied. It was a great night, which I never get to talk about, but it was a fun night. We really enjoyed ourselves. But two parties were going on, my party and the party across the street, who were friends of mine, but mainly white party goers. And officers came to shut our party down, but told the party across the street to stay in the house and be safe. Now, 79, which was counted, 79 LAPD officers showed up to my house in riot gear, right? You know, like this is 2013, right? They made a barricade on my street, 23rd and Hoover. I was arrested that night. And it's just crazy because here I'm having the time of my life. I imagine just being at the highest point of my life, days before graduation, only to be reminded, like, yo, we don't give a shit you have your bachelor's degree, about to graduate, or your first generation college student. Like, this is what it is. And that really hit me. So we had a protest. We spoke out, you know, And it made national news. You know, ended up on the front page of the LA Times and just national media all over. People are talking about it. And I'm like, this is the solution. Yes, we're fighting racism and racial profiling. You know, and until they turned into the next news topic, right? Nobody was talking about us a week later. All right, so what was the solution? What was we going to do, right? You know, we had a whole town hall, tried to bring out LAPD, USC.
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that. And of course, they put the token black guy up there to talk about. He wasn't even at the event, you know, but he needed to represent.
That's how they do it.
LAPD for that time. Well, did you guys think this is racial profiling? Yeah, everybody raised their hand.
No,
Yeah.
beating kids in the street and calling them the N-word. Nah, no racial profiling at all.
Not at all. I remember storming out of there just like, this is bullshit. You know, just calling it what it was.
They were throwing down women too. I remember that.
Yeah,
throwing down women. I don't care about your ID, nigger, and you know, a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff that happened that night that was unfortunate, man, and sad way to kind of end our last day, but also exciting to realize that hey, the goal was to leave a legacy of, you know, other students of color, you know, black students should be treated this way, you know. But from my end, I realized that I had to still do something, you know, and Movement B at that time, as I mentioned, was in music, MTV, all that stuff was done. I was probably too radical for them at that point, you know, like my job after college, the whole Nate Howard show, all of that stuff was just done, you know, so I was like, well, I got to go back home to San Diego. Went back home, stayed with my parents, and I knew that my old high school would hire me, you know. That was the only job opportunity I had. So
with the Nissan Altima.
With the Nissan Altima, I'm cruising, you know.
It was nice though.
Man,
it was like custom.
That was great. I had the plastic dip.
Yeah.
I had to spray my rims red. You know, I was out there, man. Yeah. And too funny, but yeah. Really, the reason why Movement B started, which is funny, because I don't know if I talked about this like that, but I was an academic tutor. I don't know, maybe it was $13, $14 an hour, a little bit over whatever minimum wage was at that time.
Right.
And I was working there 3 days a week, right? Luckily, I was still at home with my parents, so I didn't have to pay like rent like that, but I was like, how can I make extra money? And somebody was like, well, you know, you can start an after-school club, you know, and I think they paid $30 an hour, you know, and it's usually for 2 hours. Oh, I can make $60 a week. Thinking back then, like, shoot,
right,
that's $240, $250 a month. I'm solid,
right,
you know.
Right.
You know, so that's what I did. And I was like, I'm gonna start a poetry club, and that's what Be the Voice was. You know, yes, I had an intent to really kind of change and impact lives, but you know, monetarily, I'm like, I need to figure out some other income. You know, and it kind of slipped into that. And that was really the birth of what Movement B is.
This is a real interesting thing, because this happened in my case as well. So you have like a brand, right? And when you first start the brand, it could be meant to be a certain thing.
For sure.
But as you go through like the experiences of actually building the brand, building the company or whatever, or the movement, it can change. It can change dramatically. So you could have started out with a brand thinking one thing, but the focus, and here's the cool thing about brands, because they become you, really, is no matter what it ends up forming into, the fact of the matter is the journey of that brand is something that you hold really close to you.
For sure.
And it shows that you actually have to sustain, you have to fight through to keep the brand. So there's still so much attached to it. Even if it's not going to be, in most cases, I would say, because most entrepreneurs fail, right? In general, they just give up. Failing is giving up. So for those who don't give up, their brand's going to go through all kinds of motions.
Sure.
That's why there'll be a brand, and then it'll change, because as you grow and as you figure out what works and what doesn't, it has to change. Then you'll have subsidiaries, Then you'll have so on and so forth, because that's what growth is. A brand can't stay the same, just as a person can't stay the same.
No, for sure.
If a brand is basically an entity, it can't stay the same. We have to like stay with it. It's funny but it's just funny how it changes. You started off like it was for music, and he's like, yeah, it's gonna be a music thing. Then it went to, what was it before the poetry? Because it went into poetry later. But I'm losing my thought.
Yeah.
But then it modified. Then it got to poetry, and now it's become a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And it's become.
It's been through a lot. I mean,
it's low key a clothing line.
Yeah.
I remember that was a big part of it too at one point.
Yeah, no, I think it was. However, I can make money off of this.
Right. It becomes like
you got to be adaptable. You have to be adaptable. I was like, okay, well, we're selling hoodies.
Yep.
We're selling crew necks. So we are, B.
Right.
This is B the clothing line. Then I realized, all right, that's not making enough money. But I mean, whatever opportunity kind of really came, you just got to be adaptable.
Right.
It
becomes, your brand becomes whatever's going to make you some money.
Yeah, and where your passion lies.
And where your passion is.
Yeah, where your passion lies for sure, and when I started working with kids in high school, I was like, I really love this, And, we've talked, I mean, I do music, right? And at that time, I had met Ty Dolla $ign doing MTV, and he had asked me to do the intro for Beach House 2, which was mixtape. And did that, not something I got paid for at that time, but, it was a mixtape, and it was, nobody knew who he fully was at that time. But what I started realizing, I was like, well, Nate, you're on this song. You need to be focusing on music. Why aren't you putting out music and doing? But I love what I'm doing with the kids. Even though it seems like this is the glitz and glam and what I'm supposed to be doing, my heart is here. And nobody can tell me anything different, because I know how I feel when I'm helping them write their poems, right? Even as an artist, you're
on 2.
Yeah,
I've done
all his
albums,
intros on his albums, but I've done about 5 intros for him, right? His
the most recent one, right? Or it was LA.
Yep.
And that was on the album. Then there was another recent one.
Yeah, so he actually did. The first one I did was Beach House 2, which was a mixtape.
Yep.
Second one was his EP.
Right.
Which is a song I did called Work with Casey Veggies and Twisted. The third one was his album, Free TC. And then he had another mixtape after that called Campaign that I did.
Right.
And then the most recent one was the Nate Howard intro. That was on Beach House 3. Right. So, I've been lucky to do that, and I guess, in reality, though, it's one of those things of don't do it because people think you should be doing something. Right?
It could seem like something crazy.
Yeah.
Because in their mind it is like, oh, this is somebody who I saw in the music video. This must be what you should do.
But you got to ask why that person even wants to collaborate with you. Because I'm not a rapper. He could have got any rapper. But the first thing he ever noticed was me protesting at USC. So I try to tell people, I just think about, a ex-friend of, how did she word it? It was one of those things of, I was trying to tell her of you don't understand why certain people connect with me, right? You think it's because of the music or whatever it else may be. But my talent, what I talked about earlier, is I'm a speaker, right? I have thoughts. I have these ideas. Now, if I was just trying to come out like a rapper like everybody else, what would make me anything different? Right? And so you got to realize what your unique talent is and hold on to that.
Regardless
of
what it might seem glitzy or glamour or whatever. If you're not fully convinced, what we were just talking about this is if you it matters what you're committed to.
Yeah. It's not for the fame, and I realize where my strengths are. You know, one of my best friends, O'Shea Jackson Jr. Shay, he's an actor. Now in my mind, why don't I start acting? Why don't I try to get some movies? For what?
Right.
Is that what I'm going to commit my life to and focus and sit in the fucking trailers and be waiting for a script all day? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who's vain enough is like, but you're going to be in a movie and you're going to be on screen. No, that's not how it works. These people have to commit to things just like anybody else.
Right.
Whatever you got to do, you got to commit.
Right.
So what we talked about, if I wanted to work in that space, my best role would be as a publicist. Right? Because I'm good at that, right? Mm-hmm. Really business, and I know how to commit to stuff in that sense. And so the biggest lesson as I'm talking to you is really kind of tell people, like, fuck the fame. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget all this idea of wanting to be known or to be significant because this is what you think people feel like you have the connection to do.
Right.
Not everything that glitters is gold. Like, I see people in these industries and they commit themselves to it just like I commit myself to the work I'm doing with Movement B. Mm-hmm. But it's only successful because I love it.
Right.
I love poetry so much, the art of poetry, that I love listening to other people perform poetry.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not so much into myself where I just want to hear my own poem. I love to hear the poems of kids. I love to hear people write their first poem. Like, I am genuinely a lover of poetry.
Right.
And so if it's only for commercial gain, I'm gonna fall out of it.
And to even be, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, to be more clear, you're not saying if your destiny or calling or purpose or your meaning is to be famous and on the screen, don't do it.
Yeah.
In that case, don't fuck the fame. Be the fame.
Yeah. Be the fame.
Yeah.
Be the fame.
Be famous. Because that's your calling. That's what you're willing to commit to.
That's what you're willing to
So it's about what you're willing to commit to.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this because there's other parts of business I want to engage in, but I almost have to pump my brakes for a little while longer because I'm working on other elements, and I know the process of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Which is start, stay. Most people get lost on the stay. They just start and then they quit. Mm-hmm. So start, stay, get fucked up for a while, probably like a year or two. It's probably that's the funny thing is that's probably all the damage that they'll really take. Mm-hmm. It's probably like a couple of years. It could be longer. Mm-hmm. It could be 5-10 years. It could, but usually it's probably like a couple of years you get fucked up, and you have to figure out what works. Then you actually start to ascend and so on and so forth. And then you'll have ups and downs within that as well. But the process of entrepreneurship requires that you commit to go through those motions, which is why I believe to try to mitigate some of that, I believe in partnership. Because partnership can save you 5-10 years of shit that you didn't know. Because there's always a little new, whatever you think that you do know or what you're gonna do, believe me, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you don't know. And it's like little stuff. And there's no way you would know it. No way, it's very nuanced. And for you to get around that hurdle a little quicker, a lot quicker, actually, could save you 5, 10, 20 years, is to partner with somebody who's already got 5, 10, 20, 25, 30 years. Then now you can kind of leapfrog. They'll be able to tell you, oh no, that's the wrong way to go. And because they have an interest in your success, now you get to be successful a lot sooner. So I would tell people, look, 50% of a lot and this has been so cliche, but it's so true. 50% of a lot is way better than 100% of nothing or little.
Yeah. That's right.
Even if it's less than that, like let's say you want to, a lot of people, and there's a lot of things I want to learn about real estate, but a lot of people really want to commit to real estate all the time and be 100% real estate. And I say, okay. What I try to tell people is this, just from a logical point of view. The most difficult part, from what I understand, because I see a lot of deals, when you raise people money, you see a lot of deals. So you see a lot of different types of people, different types of industries, just a lot of different types of people in industries. When you talk to people, a lot of times what you're really pulling out is it's hard to find like a contractor. You know what I mean? It's hard to find a contractor because contractor, you could pay them, they screw you. And there's only so many people out there who are really good to work with. So that's going to be like your biggest challenge, even when you understand a lot of the mechanics of how to get a deal and how to make sure you have enough equity in the deals and all the numbers that you need to do and all the places you need to look or whatever. You still need a contractor to help facilitate fixing that house up or whatever. Well, my whole thing is this. I think about incentive. So give somebody incentive to do it right. An incentive would be giving them ownership in the deal. Right? If it's like, so if you give somebody 25, 35, 50% of the business and they're going in with you in that way and that's your biggest challenge, well, guess what? Ain't no challenge no more. Yeah, you're going to make less than if you took 100% of those profits, but again, 50% of something is way better than 100% of nothing. You're probably going to get nothing because you're going to get fucked on a lot of those deals trying to find the right contractor or whatever. So I say just give the contractor equity. Fast track. You'd probably do way more business than everybody else starting out. They'd be like, how did you? And that's like that in anything though. Not just real estate. It could be like that in anything. Find somebody who knows some shit. You don't know everything. Accept it. You even if you do know some stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Somebody who's been doing it, I'm telling you, it's just, I know the process of entrepreneurship. I know what it feels like to beat your head against the wall. Yeah. Somebody who's been doing it will know way more.
Just never stop learning. Right?
Yeah.
Just don't have pride. You know, and sometimes you gotta act dumb. You know? And
acting dumb is great.
Yeah. I love it because I get free information. I would have had to pay for it.
Yeah. All you have to do is shut up.
Shut the fuck up and act like you don't know nothing.
Right.
I hear things even stuff here I know that I'm just like, no, I'm gonna act like I don't. Humble myself because people love that. People love to feel like they're giving you information for the first time. Yes. And in that information you're gonna find nuggets because everybody's experience is different. And that's power. That's real power. I remember when I had a job, right? I believe you don't work to earn, you work to learn. Right. Some job can't pay me anything of my work. Yeah, they can't. But I didn't have to go get a graduate degree. I just decided to get paid and learn. Right. While I was in this work. Right. And so I think about after starting Be the Voice, that program grew to about 30, 40 students voluntarily after school, and I was asked to do this work at the Monarch School, and I learned everything there about how to integrate curriculum into a school setting, how to just kind of propose curriculum and how to implement that with students K through 12. And that's what Movement B does. Right. Right? But I got paid to learn that. Right. I just never understood, things just based off theory of like just to go to school and nothing against it. Yeah. But to go to school and then not know how to apply it, right? Right. But then begging a job or telling the job, well, I have this degree in this, so let me, versus like, hey, we can show you results. This is what we actually learned, and this is how this is working. And so,
on that note, and we were talking about this earlier. Yeah. I have to bring this up. Yeah. On cam. So I was talking to a young man, and I appreciate his time. he wants to raise a little startup money.
Okay.
I said, okay. And you know, we ask him, you know, what business are you starting? And he says, well, I'm gonna do advertising campaigns for dentists on Facebook. And I'm like, in my head, because I started doing advertising campaigns with people around the city. You know, I would get on the phone in the morning, and I would say, hey, my name is David Diamond. I think I could bring a lot of people into your business. I really like what you're doing here. You know, what time would be good to meet with you, mornings or afternoons? And they say, well, you know, mornings. Great. Listen, I'm gonna bring you a notepad, pens. It's gonna be a lot of information. We're gonna go over a full plan of action, and be ready. I can't wait to meet you tomorrow. Okay, great. Boom. Show up with my little bag and my computer, and try to make money out of thin air, right? So, and one of the things I realized, and I knew that he was gonna run into this, is you might even tell them everything. You might have a grand vision for them, and you go over all the information, and they love it, and so on and so forth. But you're still trying to convince them based on grounds that they can't see. So that's the number one hurdle when he's going out there and trying to get these dentists to pay him money to do their advertising. The main thing that he's going to run into is they're just not going to believe it, and they're not going to want to move forward based on that. There's two different ways to look at this, and I told him this is the first way I told him. This is what I told him. I said, well, instead of doing that, you're not a dentist, right? I know you're not a dentist, but what you should do is make a dentist Facebook or Instagram page. You've put all the details about teeth and hygiene, or show people with funny teeth or whatever, just all kind of stuff that has to do with teeth and dental advice and so on and so forth. And you get people to come there, and through advertising or organic advertising as well, and get these people, get leads on your own. You see, you get leads as if you were a dentist.
Yep.
Now you take those leads, and now you say, hey, I've got leads here. I've demonstrated that I can get dental leads. Now you have two options. You can sell them. You can sell that service of generating that leads for them, or you can take those leads that you got and outsource and just sell those leads that you got.
No, it's important. I never understood people who try to raise money or try to do things without showing
Without the system.
Yeah, you know, it's
And here's the thing. Once you can do that, now when you go into that meeting, all you're saying is, I'm doing some crazy shit right here.
Yeah.
Look.
You can see it.
Look right here. Look. I got the leads dripping. They're dripping, baby. You want to do it or not?
Because if not, somebody else
is going to do it. I got the leads right here. You can either buy them from me.
You can have it exclusive.
Or I'll do it for you exclusively. Your choice, but either way, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Do you want to come along or not?
Yeah.
That's the way you're supposed to sell.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a position to where you're trying to convince and just pound with nothing to stand up.
It turns into begging, and it turns into I hate that feeling, right?
Right.
It just, the power is. This is quote. I don't know if Jay-Z came up with somebody. It was like, I used to go to the table and see if they liked me. Now I go to the table and see if I like them.
Right.
And that's the power of switching it up, right? We always feel like, all right, this person has to buy my product. This person has to buy my service. Well, if you feel like the work that you put in is valuable, then if somebody doesn't want your product or service, you will realize it's their loss. Just with anything, a relationship, anybody, because you know who you are and the power that you have and the hard work that you've put in, if somebody doesn't understand the value, they're lost. Right? And the more we approach business that way, then we start working with the customers that, value us. you know, which is the best in the long run.
You're
anyway.
unstoppable if you can do that.
For sure.
If you can say, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Want to do it or not? Because I'm going to just keep doing this shit anyway.
Especially if you monopolize the market.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, what I feel with Movement B, I mean, we've hit on something.
Oh, you guys, man.
So deep that, you know, and we're dealing with stuff, right? I'm dealing with, you know, HR and, you know, things that I got to structure better. But what makes it valuable is that you can't just throw us away, right? Especially when the kids are asking for this. It's not often that you have kids in the school asking for something, saying they need something. You know, these kids are trying to get out of school. They're not feeling connected a lot of the times. But when we've made an impression on your student body, even if we do have a hiccup, we got to put that fire out and do better. That's what I've been learning as a CEO. But be so good that they can't ignore you, right, despite whatever may be happening. You know, and so I feel like we monopolize the market, or continue to figure out how to monopolize the market because, you know, yeah, everybody has competitors, but come on, you feel me? It's not cocky. It's the confidence in saying, with the stuff that we're doing,
right,
nobody's coming close.
Right.
We're steady innovating. We're adaptable. We don't have a script. I mean, we have guidelines, but it's not. Every school is different. Because if I gave the same program to every school, what the point would that be, right? I mean, we have to go assess the school, what the issue is, and most of this work is just being adaptable. That's what I find is my favorite work.
And to clarify for everybody who is watching, what do you guys do just some more information
for
about
sure.
what you guys do.
I mean, we use poetry and creative writing as narrative therapy. Okay.
Within different schools.
We offer them as workshops. Okay. And that is offered in different ways. As I mentioned, we are kind of adaptable to kind of fit in what works best, right? First of all, it's hard to get in a school setting, right? We first started after school, right? Okay, this is after school enrichment. So whatever kids can stay after, cool. Let's work with them, right? Obviously, a lot of kids can't stay after, and the kids who really need it probably aren't staying after school, okay? So, you know, we found ways to kind of integrate within the school system, within English classes, within counseling, other kind of departments, to help students who need more emotional support, right? Now, the budget may not allow the school to hire another full-time counselor or school psychologist or therapist, for that matter, whatever it may be. Specifically in the public schools, they're not seeing that it's important, especially when they're laying off teachers. They don't have time to hire somebody to focus on the emotional support of students. But if you want more money because you get money off school attendance, well, you need your kids attending school, right? You want them doing well. You want your school to be noticed as, you know, a school of rigor. Well, your students aren't doing well academically if they're dealing with all types of emotions, okay? So we feel like our value proposition is that, no, you don't need to hire another school counselor. You don't need to have all of these other things where you may have to spend more money because you now are in trouble or a situation because whatever. You know, invest X amount of money into Movement B, and we'll come work with your students. We'll make it fun, but we'll still have that discipline that makes it academic with the writing portion. But with this all, the whole goal is to work with your students to make them feel more confident about who they are.
Right.
And we've seen great results in that. And mainly working with students who they've kind of left behind. You know, most programs are for students who have a 3.0 and above. You know, when you're 2.0 and low, like, where do you go?
Right.
Drop out? You know, what intervention or program is for you? you can't even play sports. You don't even qualify, right? So, in that sense, Movement B has been open to all students, but we want to focus on those students who have been just kind of left out, right? And when we talk about monopolizing the market, there's not too many organizations doing that.
Right.
There's not enough organizations who even have the power and the skill to go in the places that we're going to. I mean, we're going into juvenile halls saying, we got this, okay?
Right, and even just the uniqueness of it's hard to really conceptualize it unless they see it.
For sure. A lot of people said that.
But if you actually see what you guys do, it's not really repeatable because it's a unique offering that really comes. Okay, so here's the thing: things become unique because of the journey that's come before it.
Yeah.
So the person in charge of that,
for sure,
has especially if they went through the fire, which most people who are successful do go through the fire.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how you become successful in the first place. There's very unique attributes in the design of that company.
Yeah.
That resonate throughout the organization.
For sure.
That's the competitive. It's kind of like Southwest Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have a reputation for a certain way of being. Mm-hmm. From start to finish, and that trickles down from the leadership naturally over time based on how they are, what they've been through, so on and so forth. So that's how when we were talking about brands earlier, that's how brands are developed. Yeah. It's everything that the CEO, the founder, or whatever, has been through, and that culture, it resonates through the company. Yeah. So, and good or bad, right or wrong, it could be a very, stern culture there. Mm-hmm. It could be very much, hey, we're about business. Mm-hmm. It could be they dress a certain way. Hey, we only wear suits, mm-hmm. or hey, we're a little bit more relaxed, mm-hmm. or hey, we're more kind around here. We know, but as long as you're on your job, we like to have some fun. So that trickles down from leadership, and it becomes the culture, mm-hmm. and it becomes a competitive advantage. Mm-hmm. It becomes, and so when you're dealing with kids and you're dealing with school system, I mean, that really becomes a competitive advantage because there's so much, what's the word? Bureaucracy.
For sure.
Within the school system and other organizations, the corporate world as well. To where, you have somebody who comes outside of that bureaucracy and they're bringing a new way of approaching it. Mm-hmm. That makes a competitive advantage big time because everybody else is just kind of following what's accepted. Mm-hmm. And you're like, hey, I'm just going to do what I feel. Mm-hmm. I like poetry. Mm-hmm. I like to see people make their first poem. Mm-hmm. I like to see people write. I like to see kids be at one with themselves. Mm-hmm. I like to see this. Mm-hmm. That becomes a competitive advantage in itself because no one is really thinking like that. They're just thinking about, how can I get the best test scores?
For sure. And a lot of after school programs, as like I said, as it started, a lot of this are for careers, right? I'm not going in, I've never told anybody in Movement B, nobody's trying to become a professional poet. Mm-hmm. Period. There may be some people who want to be music artists and different things, but our goal is not to turn people into professional poets, artists in that sense. Again, our work is in narrative therapy. We're using poetry as an outlet to solve a problem that everybody has. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The teachers as well.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
a lot of teachers don't even want to be there.
Of course, right? So what we're offering therapy, right?
Yes. Bingo.
And so when we talk about market and market size, for the outsider thinking, oh, it's a poetry club, you're just trying to help people become poets, well, that's really a very small niche, and that's not really marketable.
Missing the point.
We're in so much demand because we're offering therapy to these schools and just using poetry as that medium.
Right.
Right?
You're also filling a need.
For sure.
Like you said, most people focus on the kids that are B's and higher. Yeah. You're focusing on everybody, whether they're struggling or not, come from a rough household or not.
Yeah.
And so if they're neglected, and it's usually those like these other programs that they're not really getting to the core of the problem, which is really a lot of it is psychological, mental, personal development.
And that's why we're beating out even some of these larger organizations, right? And what's inevitable and what's eventually going to happen, because you're saying the bureaucracy, I mean, you can take whatever nonprofit that works with schools, the kids are like, that's not authentic.
Right.
They don't
feel it.
Right? And as a school, who are you going to listen to? You got to listen to the kids.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So, we're building rapport with the kids love it, the admin has to respond. I promise you, all the gigs that we get at any of these schools is because a kid championed for it.
Right.
I literally talk to the kids are like, hey, can you come do an assembly at my school? Go ask your principal. Well, I'm sure you guys want to listen to student voice, right? You guys want the students to be able to make decisions, right? I tell the students, you go talk to your principal, you set it up. Okay. When they come, we can then talk numbers at that point. But that's my selling technique. Hey, get the kids excited about it. If they want it, they'll go talk and figure out how to bring that to their school. And that's how we do it.
So the students are the salesmen.
The students are the salesmen, for sure.
And so, speaking of sales, this used to be an LLC.
Yeah.
This used to be an LLC.
We can talk about that. Yeah.
So let's get into this. Is where it's gonna get a little interesting. This is where it's gonna heat up a little bit.
I love it.
Let's get into why you changed from having this as an LLC to a nonprofit, and what some of those advantages are on that front as well, and what people can think about that.
Yeah. First of all, when I first started the LLC, I realized I had the $800 a year I had to pay before I was even making any money, right? So that was my first experience of like, oh my gosh, right? And then second, I realized when I did start making money as an LLC, that I was getting taxed. Obviously as an LLC, right? Everybody gets taxed in that sense, unless you're a nonprofit, right? Now, typically we see nonprofits as charity and typically think, all right, as a nonprofit, I'm a foundation that gives away money, or I'm collecting, thousands of dollars for a toy drive or whatever it may be. That's our traditional views of nonprofits. They think that nonprofits don't make money.
Right.
But that's totally wrong, right? Once people kind of get into the legal understanding, the only difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit is that you cannot sell a nonprofit. But there's many nonprofit corporations that most of their revenue may be just from fee-for-services, right? But they're offering something to the community. It works with as a public charity of helping the community. But it wouldn't make sense for me to be a for-profit because I have no interest in selling the company or even giving shares of the company.
In which, if you did, who's to say that you can't restructure the organization?
Exactly. Right?
So essentially, a nonprofit is just simply a structure.
It's simply a structure, and I think people have a misconception. But a lot of rich and wealthy people have been having nonprofits for years.
Absolutely.
And it's in compliance, right? I think people tend to think, oh no, it's a charity, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. But the more you do your research on the structure, it makes sense and it's a benefit for you. Now, in regards to taxes, you have to pay payroll taxes. But movement BE stands for Brave Entrepreneur. So I work with vendors. I work with brave entrepreneurs. So I'm not paying payroll tax. Okay, I'm paying entrepreneurs to run the business and offer these workshops. Now I say all of this to say I always stay up to date on compliance, and I really have to always make sure that I'm doing everything legally and right. But obviously that's better than spending thousands in taxes that I didn't have to, right?
Because we're simply talking about, okay, so there's a C corporation, there's an X corporation, there's a B corporation. That's another topic. There's LLC, is a sole proprietorship.
But see, here's what I realized: people just love. I used to be this way. People just want to say, I have an LLC.
Yeah.
I have a C Corp. It's like, you just want to have a name and like a business corp, and you don't even understand.
Here's the reasons. So we talked about this, because here's what I think that you should do. So you have your 501c3. Got the 501c3, right? Great. Here's what I noticed. I noticed that structures are used in conjunction with one another. Like, you got a 501c3, you got corporations, you got LLCs, you got trusts. Okay? I notice wealthy people use these, all of these.
Yep.
They always have a foundation. Never noticed that? They got a foundation. They got trusts. They got corporations. Okay, so
and it's because you think they're so giving, but which they could.
They could be giving, but
yeah, ask the Clinton Foundation what's happening with all that money. But
a lot of services could be nonprofit services that they could be selling. Okay,
for sure.
So here's what I think: you can have the 501c, but then you could also, you're very good at handling a 501c, being compliant. Starting a nonprofit from zero and making it into something. You could consult. You could set up a consulting company that is a for-profit on the side. Now check this out.
Yeah, go ahead.
So now you have 501c, you got a consulting practice.
Yeah.
Now this corporation,
yeah,
who's to say that you can't have your personal credit together, have your business credit together on said corporation, and get funding from said corporation if need be, because you'll have more options on the corporation than you will on the 503. You do have some options on the 501c, but you have much, much more on a for-profit corporation. Who's to say you couldn't get funding from said corporation? And then as you're putting those corporate funds that you've accumulated with the your consulting practice, I mean, those funds could be used for constructive things that create more profit. Said profit could be used to organize other things. Maybe some of those profits could be put into a trust. Maybe you do a deal that the monies from said deal goes into a charitable remainder unit trust, in which you're not going to pay taxes on that sale, and pays you out every month. You have a tax write-off for doing so as well for the next 5 years. You could do that. So as you can see, these structures can be used side by side by side.
For sure.
So I think as you develop as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you're going to start to use all structures to your advantage. You're going to use a nonprofit, a for-profit, a trust for your kids, a trust for privacy, different types of asset protection. You're going to use all of them eventually. I think you should.
We'll see. We'll see. I think I'm still learning about business credit. I've never gotten a business loan.
We'll talk.
And I would have to question, right? Because in the work that I do, a grant is a grant that doesn't have to be paid back. So when I see free money, it's free money. I've really learned the business of the nonprofit world, and I'm very skilled in it.
You should consult for it.
And I most likely will still do that under the nonprofit because I'm not going to sell a nonprofit consulting business. Do you get my point here? I really tend to start thinking, unless I am trying to sell the business, right? I don't see why I would not be a nonprofit.
He's gonna convert sooner or later. Not convert. but he's going to keep all assets.
Because the only difference is it's just as a nonprofit you still have control.
You always want to keep your nonprofit.
But I guess what I'm saying is I don't mind putting even a for-profit business under the nonprofit umbrella. Because it's tax.
Now,
I'm not getting, you know what I'm saying? I'm not getting tax.
Yes, you could sponsor.
Yes.
You could sponsor the for-profit.
I could.
See, I like that. Because not only could you give yourself the ability to raise more funds, you could also, I mean, it's a working arm of a nonprofit.
My only thing is, and this is the world I have to get into, is right now I'm in 100% control.
Right.
Okay? Now, the minute I get into for-profit and we're talking percentages and certain people have this equity and, you know, whether that's angel investors or moving up to venture capitalists, you know, I'm losing my business. Let's just be real about it.
Don't take investors. Don't take investors. Raise money from the bank.
Okay.
Also this.
Which would still be a loan.
You can
something have
keep-
to be paid back.
Yeah, that's true. You'd have to have somewhere, and then this is a big aspect too. You always need to have something that you're going to use it for, right? You don't want to just take money just to take for the sake of just taking money.
Yeah.
And you have nothing to put it in. It would only be for when you need it.
Okay.
Maybe there's a 20-unit apartment complex and it's a great deal on it. But you're like, dang, I don't have enough right now. That's where these types of things come in. Because if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 corporations that you could get funding from multiple different banks, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45. Notice you're not going over 50 because 50 you have to provide a lot of documentation.
Interesting. Okay.
Now you can get that building. You can lock in that building now. It's like, phew, dang, I'm glad I listened to Dave when he was talking that day.
No, for sure. No, that makes sense.
It's stuff like that. It's you don't know what you're going to need later, and it'll be something that pops up. And you know, we have interesting friends to begin with. I know one of your friends, and hopefully we'll talk to him as well. He might say, Nate, I'm looking at a building right now. You want to come in? I need you to at least get in with $1 million or 500,000.
No, right. He did just hit me up with something actually, you know, for $100K. And now that you're bringing that up, I was like, I don't have $100K.
Exactly, but if you have 4 for-profits, you don't have to
OPM.
Yes, you don't have to be operating all this and doing all. Who said that?
Yeah.
You started a company. You consult with the company sometimes. What's up? It's a side company. Now, if your credit's together, okay, you've built out the business credit on these. You may even have some financials on these. Okay, you can go to 3 different banks per corporation and get 50 apiece. Now you have 150,000 per corporation. So when he asks you, hey, you want to buy in? You talk to somebody like me, I say, okay, don't worry about it. We'll get you that 100,000. Bingo. Now you have that deal that you wouldn't have had. If I had to buy into a deal, I know it can be a really good one. I know ways I could get the money. Quickly. That's why you want to have the access.
Okay.
So it's just being strategic. The people the wealthy, they understand these things. So they will use these structures in tandem. One will be for one purpose. It's kind of like you go into, you want to go fix a house. You're like, there's a lot of shit that needs to be done in this house. You don't want to just bring a hammer. You want to bring a fucking hammer, a fucking crowbar. You know, you might need a screwdriver. You know, you might need a few different tools to fix that house the best way it needs to be fixed. That's how structures work as well. So I want to learn a lot about your expertise too, as far as nonprofits, and I've been talking to you about that
For sure.
especially the uniqueness of California, which so here's the funny thing: California is very advantageous for nonprofits because you can be
Single.
the only.
Was I telling you this?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You can be the only. You forgot.
Yeah. I did.
I be listening.
Yeah. No.
I listen when I'm trying to learn something.
Yeah. No. Sure.
I'm always trying to learn something.
Yeah.
So you can be the sole
Yeah.
person on the board.
Yeah.
That's very, very unique.
Yeah. And that's what's been interesting about our business, right? I mean, you could say the checks and balances. I have a lot of power, you know. That doesn't mean that I don't have a board. I'm developing my board, you know. But it does allow for
A certain level of freedom.
a certain level of freedom. I mean, you can have a single member LLC, right? So if you have a single member LLC,
But in some states, you can't really have a single member corporation for real.
oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, in some states they ask for a lot of information.
Okay.
In some states they don't ask for as much information.
Yeah.
So, personally, I think that there's a lot of advantageous states to incorporate in, aside from California. California is the worst place to incorporate, as it pertains to privacy, taxes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
However, there's two sides to that coin, because if you're trying to raise money, and this is where people, I remember somebody got mad at me because I said this, and it's just a fact. If you're trying to raise money from the banks, it's best that when you're trying to get funding, it's best that you are registered in the state that you're actually domiciled in, where you actually live. They want to know that you're actually where you're trying to get the money. Not trying to play games.
Yeah.
Tax mitigation and funding are two different strategies. There's different ways that you can get around this, but just for starters, funding, tax mitigation, different things. Banks don't want to see that your corporation is in Nevada, but you're really in damn New York. No deal.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is that some people don't like to hear that. They're like, oh man, I'm in the worst state. I got taxes. You're funding right now. Funding is the art of showing. Hey, I made $500,000 last year. You don't want to show a loss, so you're trying to get funding. You're trying to buy a property, you're trying to buy a house. You want to show that you made as much as possible. Hey, I'm here in this state and I made a lot of money. Can I have some money now? Okay. But if you're doing tax mitigation, you say, okay, I took losses. I only made $20 this year, and my corporation is in fucking Iowa, or wherever the hell it is, Delaware. Your corporation's in Delaware, and you only made $20 this year. Okay, that's fine for tax reasons, but that may not be fine for trying to raise money.
Yeah.
If you only made $10 last year, what bank wants to give you money?
Yeah.
So it's like different strategies. Funding is the art of showing. Tax mitigation is the art of pretending you don't have nothing. Or just not having anything. Honestly, not having it. So there's different ways to look at it. Everybody tries to they want to get the best of both worlds. They want to show that they made no money in a no-tax state where they don't live and have no ties to and spend no money in, and then say, hey, can you give me money now? It's like, okay, you're a great comedian. You know, you must be related to Chris Rock. You know, you want to show. So really what you should do, this is what I think people should do. Show a whole bunch for a couple of years maybe. Show as much as possible. Look, I made $400,000, $500,000. Show everything that you made. Just show it. Come on, be proud. Show it. Now, after you're done getting funding for those couple of years or something, maybe now you'll have more losses on the business after that. Maybe you'll have, a holding company with companies underneath it, and a company within your holding organization, one company can loan money to another one, and loan money, another corporation can loan money to another corporation. Do you pay taxes on the loan?
No, you don't. You don't pay taxes. You don't pay taxes on the loan.
So you could have one.
You're so right.
Loan to another. You could take losses. Yeah. You could take losses on one of those corporations, and that can trickle up. You can do things like that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But you got me thinking. That's right.
Yes. If you're trying to raise money, you're trying to save money, different strategies, and we can. This is like what we do is we help people get through the process and not just raise money, but also think about the structure and the strategy of what they're trying to do. That's a lot of people don't realize that's what it's really about. You want to when you have a business, you want to have the strategy, the structure, and all this kind of stuff combined.
This is good. Because the nonprofit end.
I love the nonprofit stuff.
Once you learn how to write a successful grant, I know we had some grant writers here earlier as we were talking. That's free money, right?
I love it too.
And the beauty in that is that's free money. So the loan, the interest, the ROI, it's free money, right? And as long as you provide the services and it works well in those certain structures, that should be money that you can hopefully get every year, right? If that's a certain grant or a certain space where that funding is coming from, right? So on that end, I see the value in nonprofits for people who know how to write grants or working with somebody who knows how to write grants. Now that could be a grant for a specific program, or that can be operational support, right?
So let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that, like grants.
Yeah.
How does one, let's say and I think people should really, really highly consider this.
Yeah.
Okay, starting a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Amazing idea, especially in the state of California.
Yeah.
So, what are some ways that people can go out there and get grants? What's some of the tools that people could use? What's some of the first steps, or what are some of the key critical steps in getting a grant?
Relationships. That's key. I've never really, and you could, but I'm not the one to go on the grant website searching through stuff and just applying like out of thin air. Obviously, that's maybe how you start and try to work and try to get some things. But all the grants that I've been successful in have been relationships.
Right.
All right. Just with any business, I think the more you know somebody, that could be simple as finding where that grant is, and then where it says email if you have any questions, email them.
Right.
Call if you haven't, call them.
Right.
Let them know who you are, what your company is, Get more information. Go to the informationals, like any of those things, right? But I've never really wrote a grant out just cold in that sense. Now I'll make cold emails and calls to kind of connect with people, but in that grant process, I'm gonna try to get as much information as possible. In that situation, there can be grants for just operating support, right? Which is the best type of funding because it's just $20,000-$30,000, how much ever is given to you, that's just given to you. So recently, funder, hey, here's $20,000.
We're gonna have to talk.
No strings attached. This is just for you to operate your business. You can begin to use that for office, to hire employees, it could be for anything. Now, the other type of grant is for programs, right? And the only difference with that is that has to go to specific programs. And for specific programs, you provide grant reports, right? You made a mid-year report. There's how many people we served. That's the number of students we impacted. And then just an end of the year report, or end of the program report of, okay, the program's over. This is.
And there are certain. I like that you said that, because something that you said, you're talking about specific things that they're going to be looking for you to maintain or get that grant.
Mm-hmm.
And depending, now that I'm putting the dots together, because I was talking to the young lady, she was great too, Shawnee.
Yeah.
She was talking about specific things that need to be done.
Yeah.
To show where you're hitting certain benchmarks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So depending on what you're doing, there's certain benchmarks that they'll look for specifically based on the type of nonprofit you have, correct?
Yeah. And it hits every time once you understand how the machine works. This is not like, I'm a poet and I'm a creative and I can try to write whatever creative essay. That's not what it's about. It's a fucking rubric, just like anything else. And I've been in rooms, and this is what I would tell people, like, be smart about this stuff. I decided to get on the grading committee. Duh.
That's
okay?
Right.
I decided to be the person who reviews all the grants with the committee. I did this with the City of San Diego, the Commission of Arts and Culture, okay? And I was the one grading all the fucking grants. Now I got to be on the committee to see what the fuck they're looking for. Now, at the end of the day, if I can't write a fucking successful grant, being the one who graded it, then I haven't done my homework and research. I literally see how they look at it, what they look for, right? And it's a point system. Check this off. All right, 5 points. Check this point, 5 points. Check, if it's out of 25, right? What do you need to do to get a 5 on each, right? If you miss something, it don't matter how creative or compelling you're trying to say in the fucking paragraph or point in the proposal, in the grant proposal. It's, did you hit this or not?
Right.
Period. Nobody got time to read fucking, essays on shit. This is just, doesn't meet the rubric or not. So anybody who can write one successful grant, copy and paste. Okay? And make it apply to whatever you're applying for. Okay? And you should be able to be successful every time. That's something that I'm working on. We're getting better at it. Right? But that is how this system works. Okay?
You're gonna have to have we're gonna have to talk, because it really should be, maybe we're gonna have to talk about how to structure it, and maybe we have to bring in some attorneys and stuff, but you definitely should consult too.
For sure.
It's a nonprofit type of way of looking at it, because a lot of people in the community need to learn how to start these types of businesses and get consulting on how to go through the process, how to raise the money on it. Huge opportunity. We're going to talk off camera.
Sure. No, as I'm talking to you, I'm realizing how much I do know about nonprofits.
Dude.
I've been doing this now for 5-6 years. I didn't realize I knew all this information.
It really reminds me of the bank. The bank ain't no different. There's guidelines. We need you to have a 680. Your corporation needs to be such structure. It needs to have these certain elements on the corporation. It needs to have an office. The office needs to be like this. The phone number needs to be like this, so on and so forth. And you need to have such and such business credits, such and such revenue. It's like a checklist.
Yeah.
If you meet the checklist,
then why could they not fund you?
Then you print the money.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Then after you print money, and then now I'm thinking about it, nonprofit too. You can have both. And depending on the deal, like I said, a deal might pop up. You might just want to have a line of credit. You might want a line of credit where you can pull from it at 6% if you need to. And you can also have grants. You can also, you see what I'm saying? You have a little treasury that you can print money. Now your job, just like how I was explaining before, you're always paying a rate on money. You're always paying a rate. The rate that we pay on the dollars in our pocket is called inflation. We're paying a rate on the money already.
Interesting.
If
All
we're
inflation, yeah.
Yeah, because inflation is a rate you're paying. It's a Federal Reserve what? Money.
Mm-hmm.
On our money, what does it say? Federal Reserve
The bank?
note.
Oh, no. Okay.
Federal Reserve note.
Okay.
What is a note?
Okay.
A note is a loan.
Okay. That makes sense.
So it's still a loan. It's
Yeah.
just a loan at a lower rate.
Okay.
So when you borrow from the bank, you're paying a premium to get the money sooner.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying a premium on the money. That money could be 6, 12, whatever percent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your job, if you understand that, and to be able to take that money, you gotta have your credit together, you gotta so on and so forth, you might have to have your business credit together, your financials, whatever. Your most important part is actually gonna be your personal credit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people try to get around it. Your most important aspect is gonna be your personal credit, so if you need to fix it, we can help you fix it. If you need to fix it, because that's gonna be everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a damn what anybody tells anybody. Your personal credit is the first. It's like your first defense,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the most important part. So, if you have that, and you take the loan, you're paying a higher rate because you're getting the money sooner. Your job is now to invest said funds sustainably to return at a higher rate than what you borrowed.
Mm-hmm.
That's you. Money is like the process of getting rich or whatever. It's a predictable process.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wealth construct. You can do this. How I look at it. So on one side you have the ability to understand how people think in large numbers. I'm going to repeat that. The ability to understand how people think in large numbers. That is nothing but marketing and sales. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding how that allows you to do what? Grow an audience.
Mm-hmm.
Put together people in one area.
Mm-hmm.
If you can put together people in one area, you sell a product. You can try a million products. I've talked about this before. You could try to sell a product, that product may not work. You try to sell another product, that product may not work. Try to sell one, oh, this one worked.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're successful.
Mm-hmm.
So you can even get rich on just this side alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand how to build an audience, you're one product away from being successful.
Mm-hmm.
One. And then that will lead to more and different things that you do all through your life.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the other side. This side is the extraction of money and the investment of said funds sustainably.
Mm-hmm.
So if you understand how to extract, so they say you need this, this, and this, you find a way to meet those requirements. You may have to get a partner to meet them. You may have to get somebody with better credit. You may have to get a corporation that's set up in the correct way. You may have to, whatever you need to hit those requirements, you get those. And you say, hey, I'm back. What's up? Where's the money at? So you understand, now you can understand, or you work with people who can help you do it. Like what we're doing. If you understand that, okay, now I can extract the money. If I can invest that money in whatever vehicle, it could be this side, because you could have a system here that if you plug more money here, now you can sell more products. Or it could be on the other side, you can invest in something that's going to give you a higher rate than the rate that you borrowed at. That could be real estate, it could be stocks, it could be something like that. Usually people use real estate, to be frank. There you go. If you understand those aspects, there is no chance that you won't be successful. If you understand how to do those things, there is no chance of you not being rich. There's no way. You'll be rich to some degree. You may be 2 million, it might be 20, it might be 2 billion. Might be 20 billion. I don't know. You'll be on that scale somewhere. If you understand those principles, no fucking way. There's no way that you won't make it. Yeah, it might take some time. Everything takes time. But you will do it if you understand those things. And if you don't understand them, what do? You partner. Like I was talking about earlier. You partner with somebody who does. Because 50% of a lot is way better than 100% of shit.
Yeah.
Of nothing. So you partner with somebody who can help you understand those concepts. And you can create wealth on purpose. And once I really got my head, it's like, wait, you do it on purpose. I mean, you mean I don't have to come up with some funny idea on Shark Tank and I love Shark Tank. But getting rich on purpose, you don't necessarily have to go out there and make a scrub daddy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a scrub a dove daddy. You know, one of these things. You don't have to do that. You don't have to make the scrub daddy, man. I mean, and I love Shark Tank, but it's just everybody always thinks about it like that. Like I gotta come up with the next
For sure.
thing, and then go out and try to sell. Yeah, I mean, just create the money.
No, you're so on point.
Just create the money. So if you don't understand money extraction, talk to us. We'll understand. We will help you extract that money. We could point you in the right direction in terms of investment, where you can find somebody else who can help you with the investment part. Now, if you can get those two, you can make money on that part alone. Don't understand how to build an audience? I've been trying to tell people how to do that. They didn't attach the value to it.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, building an audience, what does that do?" You idiot! If you build an audience, you can sell a product. That means you can change your life at the snap of a fucking finger because you put the right product where people already know your brand and know what you got going on, or know you or whatever, and they enjoy what you have to offer. You just made yourself a success.
You just gotta be strategic.
Yes, strategy. Let's put people to, but also with no money.
Yeah.
There was hardly anything I just said that had to do with having any money. Building an audience, you don't have to have no money to do that. You have to have enough to have your phone.
Audience.
You have to have your phone, and you have to download Instagram and let them.
And your audience may shift, right? I think, like I told you, I mean,
Yes.
what's so interesting, and it's the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your revenue comes from 20%
Yep.
of what you do. Now, Movement B's biggest revenue right now is kids.
Right.
Okay? It used to be, I started this in high schools. Like I said, I started this in music, right? And hip hop, where my audience was college students at that time. Now, the fact that 80% of our revenue is coming from elementary and middle schools, well, my next product is a children's book. Is a young authors, they call it, what's the term for it? But it's basically the chapter books for 8 to 11 year olds, upper school, I can't think of the term for it, right?
Yeah.
But
I lost my words a few times tonight.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. It's just shit I say
Yeah.
all the time. I just can't remember it right now.
But you get what I'm saying. It's upper grade, I think is what they call it. But this is for elementary, 6th grade, 5th grade type students.
This
right?
shit's gonna work too. I can tell you that in advance.
And I'm like,
Because you can have it available whenever you're running events. Period. All kinds of different ways to get that out there.
and we're talking about stories, of, how many young black characters. Shit, I remember. That's why I didn't want to read.
Right.
How many, am I going to keep reading the same books with these white characters on the front cover? Or if I see a black boy on the front cover and I have to have reading during reading time in school, what am I going to read? So I say all that to say, you know, whatever business people are dealing with, you may have to pivot, right?
Yeah.
You may have to figure out how to adapt. But once you figure out the audience who is loving your work, feed them.
Right. And also, I look at it like this, and I did a 10-minute presentation about this. And just to finish off,
Yeah.
even on the side that has to do with money extraction, because there are people, I just wanted to clarify for the people who always think that has to do with money.
Yeah.
The only part, it's just straight strategy. It really has to do more so with credit on this side, more so than money. It's the ability to qualify for money.
Okay.
It doesn't take money, it's the ability to qualify for
That's
money.
interesting. Yeah. You're right. Okay. Doesn't
It's
take
the
money.
score.
Okay.
Do you have the score and the necessary accounts, whatever, on your credit or whatever, to qualify? That had nothing to really do with money. The only part that does is the investment side, but you didn't. You just had to qualify to get that. People don't get it. And on your point, here's why. And I made a 10-minute video about this. Your audience ultimately, especially when you're talking about online, but I could see this being anywhere. Ultimately, they're gonna dictate what's gonna work to a large degree. Your job is basically to find the product that they want from you. You see what I'm saying? It's the angle that they want from you. It may not be what you originally set out. That's why brands always modify and change, because it may not be what you originally set it out to be. So for people starting out, I'm sorry, you may not get exactly what the hell you were going for. But if you keep trying, the audience will accept something from you. It just may not be what you thought it was going to be. But your job is to. Here's the cool thing about when you understand how people think in large numbers, because you'll have a lot of people who you can put out a product and see if it'll work. You'll know immediately, because if they don't respond to it right away, like I know if I put something out and nobody responds to it, it's dead. Next. I don't care even if my mind, body, and soul went into creating that product. Next. That's the tough part about being an entrepreneur too. Learning how to let go of the emotional side and just providing what people want from you. Any product or business, if it just has one product or maybe some other products, whatever, is a financial instrument. This is how I look at it. What I'm saying is, let's say there's a stock. One stock is Apple. Then you have another stock that's like gold. It just follows what gold does. Or you have another stock that is, whatever. Your product is simply just a stock. It's just gold. It's silver. It's a stock. It's whatever. If you try to buy that stock and it doesn't go up, you gotta dump it. If as soon as you buy the stock goes down, you gotta get rid of it. It doesn't matter who's attached to it or how you feel about it. You gotta let go of that stock.
Yeah.
If you can look at it like that, and you keep the stock that works, the product that works, the business that works, and you keep that.
No, it's all right.
Then you're going to fast track it. You just have to keep the shit that works. You can't just look at everything as a financial instrument.
Yeah.
Is the stock fucking going up or not? Is gold going up or not? Is oil going up or not? No? Get rid of it. Yes? Keep it. And when people can get there, I think they're going to find a lot more success.
There's just certain things I don't do, right? I used to think I was in the business of selling curriculum. I don't sell curriculum. We offer workshops.
Right.
That is what we do. What do? We offer workshops. What do? We offer workshops. What can you do? We offer workshops.
What works?
Yes. I can't give you anything else. I don't even have time to, in our innovation, we're going to do some innovative workshops because
Right.
that is what we do. Like,
Yep.
you may want to ask me could you guys do this and do that? No,
Nope.
that is not what we do. I'm sorry. You know, I went through the phase of trying to be creative and trying to do things that I don't know how it makes money. I don't know how to sell curriculum, to be quite honest, right? I
Right.
don't, and I could spend time trying to figure it out, but no.
Right.
That is not my work, you know? And that's not my passion, you know? Our work is in the facilitation of workshops, you know, and the business in that is this is how much a workshop costs, and this is what we're going to do, you know. So, you know, to your point, I think we got people trying to do too much at times. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. Like we know this, and at the end of the day, just eliminate some of the unnecessary, you know, things that aren't really adding value to your business. When I decided that all we do is workshops and we're focusing on that, I mean, at this point we're giving. I mean, it's up there. I mean, it's close to maybe 20 to 25 workshops a week.
Wow.
At this point.
Wow.
Yeah. Because that is what we do. And we master the workshop. And nobody's going to give a better workshop than us.
Wow. Wow.
You know? And that's across 7 to 8 instructors.
You guys are going to be huge.
You know?
Huge.
That's what we focus on. You know? Because, you know, and there was this other opportunity recently. Oh, come to this conference. There's going to be all of these teachers there. And they're going to try to figure out how they can implement your work in their schools. Well, I said, unless they're flying us out, you know, or they're trying to figure out how to hire teaching artists in their school, I have nothing to offer them, you know, unless there's a staff development, or because I am not going to sell them curriculum for them to teach themselves. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
There may be other organizations that license and sell their curriculum, and that's good for them. Work with them.
Right.
But our work is, you know, you hire one of our facilitators to come out and do this work. That is our business.
This is the thing, too. I like that you said that, because this is what people don't realize, especially when you first start business. You think that customer is always right saying really applies in real life. And it actually really doesn't. It does only to a degree.
Yeah.
The reality is you have to be willing to forego something if it doesn't fit the model of your business or the integrity of your brand. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So you may have to it could be for a lot of money.
Yeah.
There was certain things I wasn't willing to do ethically. To run somebody into a wall just to get money. And I wasn't gonna budge. So no, the customer is not always right.
And they don't know what they want.
They don't really
Sometimes, you know, especially if you know you have a creative company and they're like, yeah, tell them what you offer. You know, of course, be open to adapt to see how you fit, but they're looking for you to provide, you know, the services to fit whatever their need is. You know, and when you keep it simple, you know, because at one point it used to be like, all right, well, how can I get the English teachers to use this curriculum in their classroom? And I was so deep into it. I'm like, I want them to use it every day. Like, I want them to open up a Movement B activity and this the first. Sure, right? But then it's like, no, we're just there once a week, right? Or this is just a one-off workshop, or we'll figure something out from there. And that leads me to the point of saying, I think our issue in business and what I'm learning personally, because you said earlier, it's not necessarily about the money and the situation of like, yeah, it'd be great to have a lot of money and resources for you, but what are the resources that you need, you know? And so I say that to say, even in my grand vision, I'm like, I want to take over and do all of this stuff. But in reality, you know, I could be happy with a number of schools, and my business could be floating just as smooth as that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I could be like,
It's about
I'm done.
right, and we were talking about this too.
Yeah.
It's about what makes you happy.
Yeah.
If people don't understand, I think people who are not in business yet, or they're just starting, I think that they believe that just the dollar amount that you look at like creates your happiness.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It actually doesn't.
It doesn't.
What does though is
The freedom.
the freedom. That's one. Two is I think there's a joy in seeing what, for at least for me at least, and I know for you as well,
For sure.
seeing things that came out of your mind,
Yeah, no, for sure.
like
For sure.
you thought about something,
Yeah, and it's happening.
and it starts to happen.
It's happening.
And people see the things that come out of your mind on a wide scale.
Yeah.
That shit is freaky.
No, it really is. It really is.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, it really is. And at the end of the day, you know, when you think of your lifestyle, and you know you're bringing in 4 or 5K a month, cash flow, you know, passive, right? Because that's the structure of our business in this sense, right? I mean, I've thought about real estate, and then I question it because I'm like, all right, I can get into it, but it is going to take time.
Yeah.
Right? With anything. How it works for Movement B is I'm managing a number of instructors, right? I charge the school district a certain amount. I pay my instructors a certain amount, right? That in between cash is, you know, I take care of my overhead and expenses and then profit, right? So, being in a number of schools that, you know, allows me to have that cash flow and the profit. If I only need to manage 10 to 15 schools to, you know, support my lifestyle, cool.
It's not about here's what I realize. And I'll go on to make a ton more money. I don't even have to, you fucking put that on the record. Though, but it's not really about that. It's more so about the achievement. People think that a lot of times they are synonymous, but a lot of times not necessarily. It's the achievement. It's like you set out to do something, and you doing it. You see what I'm saying? Not necessarily that achievement part is actually will make you. I think that's where a lot of the happiness actually comes from, is the achievement of whatever you did. That's why you'll see guys who maybe they were artists at one point, or they had a major hit, and time has since passed, right? But they always talk about
that one hit,
the good old days.
Good days, man.
They talk about them good days though, because that's where the happiness part came from.
Yeah,
they're talking about the happy part. They might even still have some of their one-hit wonder money. They might still have, but they're not talking about the money necessarily. They're generally not going to talk to you about the money, unless it's asked about. Hey, were you able to keep your publishing or whatever? And you can get into specifics. But a lot of times people are going to talk about what happened with the record itself, what life was like, where they went, some of the girls they met, just the experiences of life that they went through more so. So it's actually more so the experience and the achievement that's actually bringing a lot of the happiness. I do think money buys a component of happiness, but to say that it is the complete, that's not true. I think
for sure.
But I don't want to discount it, and I don't want to be one of those people that say, "Oh, money's not important." And stuff. No, it is.
It's very important.
It's super important.
Very important. You just have to realize, you know, the difference with greed, right, and the need for money for
just
money's
for the sake of having.
You know, if I'm saying I'm driving the car I want, right? If I'm living in the place I want to live. I'm taking care of the people I want to take care of. And with the right investments, then of course money is going to grow. And that's the thing. That's the secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
Create the money you want and then put it into something that allows money to work for you.
Or protect it too. And not or I should say and protect it as well, so that the next generation, because generational wealth I think is important, especially for Black Americans.
For sure.
So that part of the thing is, but see, I don't even attach a lot of my goals, even though I don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
A lot of my goals are attached to the concept of generational wealth. So that would probably be the main reason that I even care.
And the other thing is like when you allow yourself to stop working for crumbs, right? So in my business, it's like, because I have other workshop instructors now, I can raise my speaking fee. And at the end of the day, I may say I've stopped working in this sense, but then it allows, if somebody wants to pay me at a rate that I feel is valuable for a speech, then of course I'll take it.
Right.
But I'm not working my ass off just to try to, to prove what? Because we know that people overwork when they're stressed, when they're depressed. Overworking is an issue that people may not talk about a lot, right? And I've been in situations, even in my past relationship, of like, well, okay, to get over this pain, I'm just gonna work my ass off. Sure, work, do what you need to do, as long as it's making you happy.
Right.
Not to work to make somebody else feel bad about themselves or prove a fucking point. Because if we're in that race, especially in race, come on, the gap is fucking humongous. And you alone, that's not going to do anything, right? That's 0.00 whatever percent, of. So at the end of the day, it's really about seeing the lifestyle that you want, being real about it. Not everybody wants a house. Not everybody wants to buy a home. That's not everybody's dream. That may not be your dream, right? Not everybody wants the American society thing. Some people may say, hey, I just want to have a couple, 1,000 coming in a month, and I want to travel the world, and I can do that on this budget.
Yeah.
And the more people realize what business that they can create to keep the lifestyle that they want, you'll start realizing you don't have to create, to your point, the next motherfucking iPhone or what. First of all that shit's already created anyway. So anybody who's trying to say, I'm going to create this version of this, that doesn't make sense. That's already created. Like, I'm going to create the black version of, or I'm going to create this version of, like, no, that don't make sense. You are not, and that's what Peter Thiel talks about in 0 to 1, which I love. You're not escaping competition. I
like something that she said too, though, and I've made a post about that before. Me talking about that, I said the name of the post is "How to Be Rich on $3,000 a Month." Okay. I think that's the name of the post. Okay. And also to one of the points that you said, you'll take a job if it's priced, not working for peanuts.
Yes.
You'll take a job if it's priced the right way. That's another big component. You don't always, and I know we gotta go. But you don't need to. A lot of times, and I used to have this way of thinking. Sometimes we think we need to bring our prices way down to try to accommodate people. Like, hey, you want to buy it? It's super cheap. It doesn't cost you anything. That's not a good way of doing business.
No, not at all.
The actual way to turn your whole life around is actually value yourself and not take cheap ass, ain't gonna make you nothing prices.
Yeah.
Raise it up. If they will not pay, if it's raised up, you might need to change your product into something that they will pay for when you raise it up. That's the bottom line. You actually need to charge people. You need to provide a service and charge their ass. There's nobody getting no free ticket. That's why I said you need to charge people. Don't go in there thinking in a scarcity mindset. Like, oh, I have to price everything at $100, $200 because they won't buy it. No, people have money.
Yeah.
And check this out. They will find the money.
Yeah.
If they believe in what you have to offer and they believe that's valuable to them, they will find the money.
But here's what I've also realized. It's conditioning, and until you spend money that way, you don't understand how money starts working. And I'm not saying you have to, start spending certain, but it does change things.
It does.
Right? It's like if you start spending $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on something, you're not afraid to ask somebody for $2,000.
Yeah,
okay?
that's a big component, because once I realized that I basically spend more than I used to make per month, I was like, okay. And it also changed your perception on what's a lot of money.
Yeah. No,
I had somebody on the phone the other day tell me that $1,500 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I had to hold my tongue in my real response, because it's a lot of money to her.
Exactly, because you remember you were at that point.
Yeah, she feels that that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I remember $1,500 was a lot, but the same, I'm like, okay, no.
Right.
That's like
now I'm
$150.
I'm like, dude, $1,500 won't even get me. It won't even get me through a week or two. And then there's a gift and a curse to that.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, man, when things are kind of weak for like a certain amount of time, I'm like sweating bullets sometimes, because I'm like, oh shit, we gotta make some more money.
Yeah.
Because everything is a small amount. Like what people think is a large amount, that I might have that, but I might be stressing off of not having what they think is a large amount. Realize I'm saying what they think, because money's all relative. I'm a year from now, and 2 years from now, and so on and so forth, when I'm thinking in my head about what's a decent amount of money, I'll be like, that wasn't even decent.
Yeah. We just got to stop being scared of it. And I think, again, the whole settling for crumbs, it's like we charge $1,500 for our assemblies. Okay?
I love that. The confidence in stating the price.
Yeah.
Yes, my services are going to range from $4,000 to $30,000.
Yeah.
Does that sound like it could be in your budget today?
No, and this is what it is. Now, I had them send me like an agreement where the assemblies were $1,000. Now, at that time, because you have to understand too, I'm not even giving the assemblies. Okay? Right. Which is a blessing. Terrence has been giving the assemblies.
Brave entrepreneurs there.
Yeah, so I was like, are they lowball? In my head, like, I took some time, I was like, I was going to accept it. I was going to accept, all right, it's $1,000 for an assembly. I'm like, they're paying $1,000 for the assembly. Our prices are $1,500. Okay? And what I realized, me being naive at the time, if I didn't realize, I was just going to accept $1,000. Right? But I responded back and said, hey, our assemblies are actually $1,500. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yep.
Here we go. Okay, second lesson. Hey, this invoice is past due. Like, being nice about it, but can we make sure like this isn't happening again? Okay, so sorry. So it's, I say all that to say is because black people, right? Being specific, black people, whether people from my community or people from certain backgrounds of income and how they dealt with money, they've always had this employee mindset, and they've always been apologists and being sorry for the money that they deserve.
Right.
That it's always been theirs. And once I got out of that mindset, you know, I realize people have to respect you. You know, even in the situations where we may be in the wrong, right? The way people come at me, I'm saying, don't come at me like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a great value and a great business for you. I made a mistake, but you're not going to come talk to me that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to respect it. And that is what I want to challenge. And I know you're doing the same with our communities of like, why are you guys feeling like this is not yours? You know, if you really want to talk about reparation, if you really want to talk about the shit that you're owed, go get your money. At the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, now we talked about this earlier, from an employee standpoint, you may get fired.
Yeah.
But from an entrepreneur standpoint,
that's the difference. So
that is the difference.
Right.
As an entrepreneur, you better boss up, because at the end of the day, they're looking for other businesses to respect. Right. And if you're not valuing yourself high and worth something, then they're going to disrespect you and not give you the business. Now, and you only have a certain room for that when you first start working with a partner. That's why this school like I'm going in right now, I have to go in there Friday and be like, all right, what's going on?
Right.
Okay? And I'm going to have to say, yes, this mistake happened, but I need you guys to be better here. What happened at our school recently? There was an issue with one of the students. We thought some of the kids stole snacks, and you know, but the issue was your instructor cannot bring his partner to the school. I said, okay, that is our mistake. I talked to him. You don't need to be bringing your wife to the program, whatever the situation is. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you guys this. I need the classroom open. Since you're making demands for me of what we can't do,
right?
This is now my open opportunity. Just what I'm going to do Friday. Since you're making demands on how our students should be, all right, well, we need this to happen, and we need this to happen, because you've now opened the can of worms at this point.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever, because I'm not an employee.
Right.
That is the difference. We are two business entities working together, and we now have to negotiate on what works best for both of us.
Bingo.
Okay? Period.
And some people don't understand that.
They don't understand that. You guys are both working together, and you letting this motherfucker treat you like an employee. I don't give a shit how big the organization is. You guys are still equal because you guys are both coming together to do business. And until you stand up and realize your worth, they're going to treat you like a motherfucking employee.
Yep. And that goes for customers would treat you that way in general. Even on, you know, in any capacity, you have to command respect for yourself, your business, your product, your prices. If they don't want to respect that, your timelines, you might have a different. We are not going to be able to get to you until a week or two out.
Yeah. You can switch it on them as much as they switch it up on you at this point, because anytime a school, you know, we have a great rapport with most schools, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe the last situation I had with Pacific High School, I decided not to do business with them. So I could say, no, Movement B doesn't decide to do business with that school, you know? And at the end of the day, if Movement B isn't all of these other schools but this school, somebody can make the argument that that school decided not to work with Movement B. Or Movement B can make the argument, no, we decided not to work with them.
Either way, look, let me tell you what I think. Either way, I don't be giving a damn.
With all these motherfucking schools all over the place, we're going to be doing okay. You know? Not everybody's going to like us, and we're going to make some mistakes, but you know, at the end of the day, that's my biggest lesson, is that stop getting treated like slaves. Right. You know?
It's weird, too, when I knew after a while, here's what I understood. When I started to understand prices are price. Look, fuck you, the price is this. Because I tried to give shit away that was valuable, that could change somebody's life. Check this out. People will only value stuff if you make it valuable. They'll only value it then. They'll think that people can get into a line of thinking where this must be trash if it's low, or it must be too good to be true because ain't nothing gonna be this low. So that's another. People forget about that in relation to cost. You might have to price something high, otherwise you ain't selling shit because they'll just think it's not real.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this shit is fake. This shit is bullshit. This shit is trash because you ain't charging no money for it. It must be bullshit. I was expecting to have to save up for this shit. So what you think is expensive may not be expensive. And then on to your point, yeah. People don't realize when you build something from nothing, this is what people don't understand. You can't talk to me like you talk to an employee at Walmart if you have a complaint. Ain't gonna happen. When you're talking to somebody who built something from nothing, and that person gets on the phone, understand that you're talking to a different animal.
Yeah.
and you're not gonna be able to just say what you want to say or just be disrespectful and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Me personally, everybody may not be on my tip, but I'll tell you, fuck you. Bye. That's me. But as long as we're respectful, I'll be respectful, but it has to be respectful. I don't get talked to like an employee. I did that for a long time. I risked my fucking life, put myself in a position where I'm not an employee. So I will not. I would rather not do nothing. I'd rather just be out somewhere and not do nothing or whatever, rather than somebody talk to me crazy like that. I'd rather take control of the conversation and let's level it out. Because you're talking man to man, not man to boy.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't stop it, they'll start treating you that way, and it's harder to then try to get your respect back
you
later
can't.
on.
It's over. You basically have to let it go.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Whew. Another good one. But,
yeah. Except this one's actually going to be out. But yeah, man, Nate Howard. You want to wrap it up?
You know, I always appreciate David, man. This is a great talk. You know, we're just talking about good stuff. But I love where we kind of ended this conversation of just, you know, I had a workshop the other day, and in my poem, I said, I'm the greatest and I know that. I'm the greatest and I own that. And one of the kids would say, it's like, isn't that cocky? Like, are you saying you're better than somebody? I'm like, saying I'm the greatest, man. I don't know how else you want me to respond. You know, I think we've been living in this fucking inferior space forever, and I think you questioning that is coming from that. And I got love for you. I just want you to realize how great you are. You know, that has nothing to do with anything but realizing your power. I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody. I'm not trying to, you know, shit on anybody. You know, I'm just trying to do my best work and be paid and appreciated for what I am and the value I am. And I just find it unfortunate that people complain about their job or their situation, but when offered an opportunity or the ability to create opportunity where they can create their own worth and value, they don't, right? They'll just settle for the crumbs or the pennies. So who do you have to blame at that point, right? That's what I'm trying to change, because ain't nobody giving us nothing, you know, at the end of the day, in regards to hoping that it just comes out of the air, you know, and that, you know, now I have this money that, you know, I've been praying for, whatever, you know. I say pray for it. I say ask and you shall receive, but then act as is and start owning it so that it can match up with your vibration and who you are. Because you can't get that $1 million because you can't even put yourself in the position to receive it, because you don't even believe you deserve it. And that's what I think we're dealing with, is a lot of people who don't even think they deserve their 40 acres. A lot of people who don't feel like they deserve the stuff that our ancestors fought for. You know, we just keep accepting social welfare. You know, we keep accepting, bullshit that keeps us in the cycle. Just the like, okay from month to month type checks, and I'll be okay. But then all we do is complain that we don't have enough. Think in abundance. We're afraid to have that abundant mindset. We're afraid to, and I've learned this from my dad. Well, this is my job. I get this salary, and it's tough to wake up and still see him get up at 5 a.m, going to this job, and knowing that the lifestyle I live, and this is my dad. Whether he likes it or not, he just feels that's the way it is. And I think there's a lot of people like that, just feeling like, hey, I'm not saying everybody's an entrepreneur, but I'm saying that we all, especially for our communities, we all have the ability, I guess, to eat like kings, kings and queens, like, have a feast, enjoy it,
in your way,
like
love everybody
it and
can't
appreciate it.
Yeah, like you're saying, like everybody can't be damn Robert Smith. Okay, but you can, your ass can put together some type of, it might just make you a couple grand every month, but a couple grand plus a part-time job on the side or something, that's...
And the more you do it, of course, it's going to rise. We
exactly.
already know that's how it is. Once you're on the way, it appears. Like, I keep getting smarter every year.
Yeah, okay? Like, here's what happens. And let's say you have a little side hustle, and you realize it starts getting to like $2,000 a month. You're like, oh shit. If you can make that 2, you can make 20.
Yeah.
You can make, it's the same process. Because there's what's happening if you're making $2,000 a month, right? You have an input. There's some type of input you have.
Yes.
And that input is giving you an output.
Yes.
So your job is to see how much of that input you can handle in whatever you started, and see how long and how far you can take that output. Because at some point you're going to reach some type of economy of scale, and you're going to have to change things and so on and so forth.
That's the message. It takes the same amount of money. It takes the same amount of time to make $100,000 as it is to take $1 million. And with our people in our community, is we're focused on the low bearing fruit instead of just, if I just put my energy here, then I would work to get here. And it may actually be easier in certain senses to make more money than competing with everybody for this fucking crumbs down here.
It's easier. That's everybody's like, man, it's hard. It is hard work. And you know what I think the work is the hardest? At the beginning.
For sure. At
the very beginning, the work is the hardest. So that part, it does have truth, but then there's a point where it's no longer about hard work. It's more about like smart work, trying to figure out how you can scale, partnering, getting a team, all this kind of stuff. That's more so what actually ends up being. So it's actually it's funny. So, like, it's actually easier. It's easier to just have your own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier because then you're just like placing products in the right places. And it's actually easy. Like, okay, tomorrow I may or may not work tomorrow. I already basically took today off. So anybody was supposed to call, I apologize, but I had to. I had to do this interview. We all hung out. We actually came up with another show idea, just from me not working. So not only was it more
working.
Yeah. Not only was it more fun to not work. In fact, this this is work. It's just that my work, right? My work's just different. Like my work could be taking a day off to make content and to come up with we came up with a whole different show idea we're gonna do bi-weekly.
Yeah, that's why I say with work,
there is no work anymore, huh? It's just like stuff you do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a book that explains it well. It's just like a painting. It's just like,
yeah,
this is just who I am. Like, and you know, I think back to my past relationship, and you never stop a movement B. You never. This is just who I am. It's just kind of connected. You know, you got to take us all. You know,
right?
And not everybody can understand that, but it's like Monday through Sunday, I'm always thinking about movement B. Always,
right?
You know, because you know, in this sense, as an entrepreneur, when it becomes bigger than you, you know, you're not. This is my life. Like I really care. I really love this work.
Check this out. You know, they say like, as you're going through the process, people tell you to quit. Just get a job. It ain't gonna work. You know, everybody does that. There comes a point where if you quit, and here's the thing. So there's a scale, right? When you first start out, you're closer to 0 than you are to 1 million. Now, as you go through this scale, you actually, let's say millions over here, and you're like right here. You're like closer to 1 million than you are to 0. So you literally can't quit because you're closer to the finish line than the beginning line. You can't quit. Not only that, if you quit, other people lose. Other people lose. If I shut shit down, shut the business down, shut down Diamond Cup Media, shut down the platform, don't raise anybody money, don't market for anybody. Other people lose. They lose learning. They lose money. They lose all kind of shit. Strategy. They lose because if I decide to lose, they lose by default. So you actually get to a point where you have no choice but to continue.
Yeah, no, and there's been times where I wanted to run away.
Oh yeah.
You know,
it pops up. It pops up.
And it's like
at random.
Know, so much is going on. I can't handle this. A lot of stuff in my personal life. It was just like, yo, let me do something else because I have all this responsibility. But own it. You know,
yeah,
own
it's
it
crazy
and find the beauty in having that freedom. You know, and so you know, at the point of learning to delegate, learning to build the team, learning to really. You know, my biggest thing, and you know what I'm learning now is, you know, don't work in your business, work on your business. You know,
right.
And sometimes you have to take those risks and trust the right people. And when you do that trust, right, it's like, fuck, if I was there, I wouldn't do it that way. But come on, right? You are as good as your weakest person on your team, right? If you're really trying to build a sustainable business, it's like, if all people see is you, then what is the business, you know? And so that's the learning process that, you know, what we're seeing now. But yeah, man, again, thank you for this interview. I think it's just it's always refreshing.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, I think my big overall message from what I'm learning today and want to say is like, we just got to stop settling for crumbs.
Yeah.
You know, we just got to stop, you know, allowing people to make us feel bad about money and resources and, you know, living the life that we want to live, you know, and part of what we were talking about earlier, that not every problem is our problem, you know, and I think as wanting to show people that we're nice, good people with big hearts, that we want to take care of everybody else's problems instead of our own,
right?
You know,
which is silly, but we have that mentality. We're like, we want people to know that we're not the gangsters and criminals and whores that they say that we are. So we're gonna love everybody over there. We're gonna pay attention to your problems and disregard our own, and we're gonna take everybody in and let everybody call me a nigga. It's fine, great. I mean,
Black boy fly, get your money, focus on you, do what you need to do to take care of you and feed your family. And trust me, because everybody else is doing it for theirs, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to start understanding and building. That's why it's like, you know, I got, you know, my staff. We got 2 young black men that I'm kind of training up and building, and we got some other kind of staff and people of color, you know. But I'm focused on showing those individuals that, look, focus on what you need to do, you know, and build. And just like I look at Byron Allen don't have to say nothing to me. I can watch his interviews and be inspired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all these other people, it's like, when we think of it that way, you said it. Create the money. Cash is created. I mean, are we going to run out of it?
Yeah, print money.
Print money. How the fuck do we run out of printed money?
You don't.
Okay, so while we over here fighting because Joe has this much and Samantha has this, Joe having that much money is not stopping you from getting your fucking bag.
Right.
So just go get your bag.
Yeah.
You know, period. You know, we can talk about all the other stuff, and that's not my argument right now, right? I think if the strategy was that the black community was in solidarity and we were going to go march to the White House and say, you know, and I know there's people doing that, right? And that's, you know, their work and what they're focused on. Me personally, for the people who understand, you know, I realize when I have the resources and I have the money that I need, it's not much motherfuckers can say to me, you know, because I don't need you. And I don't need your validation.
Right.
So I got $1 million in the bank. Me, my wife, my kids, my people I work with, we're going to do what the fuck we want to do, you
Right.
know? And at the end of the day, you know,
I don't think people realize that.
they don't.
At a certain point, okay, first of all, people should understand this. There's not most things that you need, they're not that much. I remember when I had, let's see, I got out of college, and I made like, I had like let's just say I had a clean 40 racks in the bank after college, right? Here's what happens, man. Because I've been trading in the market, and it was working out for me. I realized that there was nothing, like when you're walking around, you think about the things that you could buy and stuff like that. You realize there's nothing that's really that expensive. For instance, if I wanted to go get a nice car that day, I could just go down, put the down payment, and I could just go get an S-Class. That day. Here's the down payment and go get the S-Class. If I had to pay rent, fine, pay rent. If I had to, and it's a lower amount of money,
Yeah.
but if you think about it, once you get to a point where you're generating money on your own, what is somebody really gonna?
What could they say to you? And that is the freedom, and I think me and you realizing that's how we have to end it. I mean, come on now, you know. Come on, like, you know, get yours, do yours, and what validation do you need? Right now, we're looking for that validation because same with the employee mentality. All right, well, my boss is going to pay me, so I gotta act extra, you know, and they still don't like you anyway, right? And they're still gonna let you go, so you might as well, you know, just fucking go all in for yourself. You gotta like yourself, especially if you're doing business, you know, with yourself. You know, you gotta. That's how this stuff works. You know, so gotta stop settling for crumbs and we gotta own it.
Yep.
You know, man.
That's
Whew.
Yep.
That's a good one.